Hi guys, my name is Minerva and today's lesson is frequency adverbs. Let's begin. An adverb. An adverb is a word that tells you more about a verb, an adjective, or another adverb by answering one of the following 5 questions. How, when, where, how often, or to what extent. In this presentation, we will study the frequency adverbs which answer the question, how often? The frequency adverbs might be used differently depending on how often someone thinks something happens. So the division I will mention is just an estimation, not an exact rule. So we have always. Always implies that the action happens 100% of the time. Usually indicates that the action happens most of the time, around 90%. Normally or generally implies that the action happens around 80%. Often or frequently, those words suggest that the action happens many times, more than sometimes, but less than usually, around 70%. Sometimes implies that the action happens around 50% of the time. Occasionally indicates that the action happens infrequently, so around 30%. Seldom means that the action happens very infrequently, so that is around 10%. Hardly ever or rarely mean that the action occurs in rare occasions, around 5%. And finally, never means that the action does not happen at all. So that means 0% of the time. Let's see some examples. She usually wakes up early. He never eats junk food. Mark is always late. Now, let's talk about the position. When you use the verb be, this is the structure that you have to follow. Subject plus the verb be plus adverb. For example, the place is sometimes crowded. My dad is hardly ever angry. I am always happy. When you use other verbs, the structure is the following. Subject, adverb, and verb. For example, they occasionally run in the park. Mary never goes to the movies. My mother often cleans the house. When you use an auxiliary, the position is the following. Auxiliary verb plus adverb plus the main verb. For example, Mark is always reading books. They have never visited Europe. And when you use have to or used to, the structure is the following. Adverb plus have to or used to plus verb. For example, we rarely have to review the lesson. David never used to sleep late. Note: we can use usually often, sometimes, and occasionally at the beginning of a sentence. For example, occasionally I drink coffee. Usually they go to the movies. And finally, we can use sometimes and often at the end of a sentence. For example, they go camping during the summer often. We ride a bike sometimes. Thanks for watching. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and share, and see you in our next lesson.